Hi guys, it's the Island Girl and I'm back with another reaction video for you today and tonight. And tonight I'm reacting to 8 surprising differences between the UK and USA that aren't obvious. All right. And I'm getting this one from Girl Gone London. Go over and show her some love. Please, guys, the link will be in the description below. Tell her that your Island Girl sent you over there. All right. So I know a lot that we have seen and heard the obvious ones, the big differences. So I'm assuming that she's not going to be talking about driving on the other side of the road and stuff like that. All right. So hopefully. So come on in, wrap back with a smile on your face and enjoy. To all my regular schmegulars, day one, sweetie pie, sweetie poos. Come on in, wrap back with a smile on your face and enjoy. All right. Let's hear what she has to say. Let's get into this video. Here we go, right about now.
And nobody had a single clue of what to do with it. People just drove straight over the middle, thinking that it was kind of just there for fun if you wanted to. Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm an American who's lived in England for almost 10 years, and today I am going over 8 little-known differences between the UK and the US.
Okay.
So I've gotten some positive feedback on my other videos about the differences between the UK and the US, but a lot of the things that people often talk about are pretty obvious. We know that we drive on the different side of the road here, and some basic language that people might use here that we've heard in the US in terms of like British movies and TV shows. But I really enjoy talking about the little nuanced things that you might not have realized are different. So if you are interested in more UK versus US information or information about living abroad in the UK from somewhere else in the world, definitely make sure to subscribe. That's how you'll get new videos and know that I've posted more. So the first difference between the UK and the US that people often don't talk about is that the keyboards are actually different. So the UK keyboard it has the letter keys in the same exact places, but the UK keyboard is going to add in a pound sign, which we don't have in the US. Funnily enough, my UK keyboards do actually have a dollar sign as well. And there are also a couple of other things that are in different places depending on the keyboard, like the at key is sometimes in a different place, and like the quotes key. I had no idea that they were different in this sense when I first moved to the UK. And I remember being in the computer lab in the university I was studying at, and it was so frustrating because every time I would go to type a particular key or symbol, it was always the wrong one. So that is the first difference that people might not mention. If you buy a laptop in the UK or a keyboard in the UK, some of the symbols are in different places. Okay, the next difference has to do with eggs. So let's first talk about the fact that in the US, we are most used to seeing white shelled eggs. In the UK, you're mostly going to find brown ones. Now, the other thing that kind of goes along with this is in the US, we store eggs in homes and in the grocery stores or supermarkets in the refrigerated section.
Yeah.
In the UK, you will not find the eggs in grocery stores in the refrigerated section. This is something that completely throws you off guard when you first move here and don't know what to expect it, because you go up and down the aisles of the refrigerated section looking for eggs and wondering like why the supermarket doesn't have eggs. And then you find them like normally next to the bread in some of the supermarkets I've been into. There's also other places, depends on the store. But I was so shocked the first time I found the eggs unrefrigerated next to the bread. And the reason for this is there are different processing techniques from the farm to the grocery store, depending on the country. They leave on the protective layers here in the UK. That basically means that there is little chance of the bacteria or something going wrong with the egg not being refrigerated. In the US, there's a really intense washing system that actually strips the eggs of this protective coating, which means that it then is safer to leave them in the fridge. I'm not completely up to date on different food processing techniques, and so I'm Not saying one is better than the other, but the countries do it differently. And because they do it differently, it means that the eggs can be stored or have to be stored in different ways. We actually store some of our eggs like on the counter and some of our eggs in the fridge, which I don't really know why we do that here in our house. But if you go into a British grocery store, do not look for the eggs in the
the fridge.
refrigerated section.
Interestingly, when she said that, I'm like, huh? Beside the bread? So that means I would have been caught off guard 100% because I'm definitely going to look in the fridge for the eggs. But I get what she's saying. The protective layer is still on it, unlike here where they wash it with all different kind of chemicals. Yeah, you let not get me started. Don't. But that's interesting. That's surprising. I gotta be honest with that. When it comes onto the keyboard, when she was saying the dollar sign is different and the hashtag, I'm here looking down on my keyboard. I'm like, oh, they share with the number key, those signs that I just said. But she's saying no, they have their own personal key somewhere else when you're in the UK. Now that right there, I'm like, huh. So that means I'll be going to, because I'm a pinger, guys. I'm a pinger. So I'll be have to be scanning in that keyboard or that laptop when I come there. Let's move on to the next.
The next difference has to do with couponing culture. So if you've lived in the US or you know about the US or you've seen the show on TLC like Extreme Couponers, you might know that in the US, we are a very coupon driven society when it comes to consumerism. So we just always like a coupon. We always like getting a deal, and it's not just like at the grocery store when something is naturally on sale, but we clip coupons. So different brands send out coupons. So you might get like $2 off a certain brand at any store that you go to. And so a lot of people in the US are used to like bringing their coupons to the checkout counter and getting deals. People get like their entire grocery shopping cart for very little money. This is a whole thing that people spend their time on doing. And just as a society, we are used to the idea of coupons.
Okay.
Here in the UK, really not the case. There are deals on things. You might go into the grocery store and something is marked down, or there's like a clearance sticker on it, or there's just like a natural promotion that the store is running. But the idea of like a coupon book definitely is not in the UK. You wouldn't really clip coupons. Like I'm trying to think of instances where I've had to present anything to get a deal. Like there might be, but in general, the couponing culture of the US is not replicated in the UK. And the idea of like buying a book specifically full of coupons to use at various places, 100% not a UK sensibility. Another difference are the places that.
Okay. I'm like, oh, you guys don't do couponing like that. Because here I know people have a whole book. It's like they have a whole folder and they don't play. Like you said, pay little and nothing for a full grocery cart, a cart filled with groceries, little and nothing, or some don't pay anything at all. Those people take couponing to another level. I do use coupon here and there if I see it, and I'm like, okay. And then funny enough, I get coupons sent to the house in an envelope, mailed to the house for different deals all over all different stores. So that would be one that I would kind of miss or notice when I get there. No couponing. Okay.
That people travel to. So it goes without being said, different countries are going to be closer or further to different destinations.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the US, I think we mostly travel within the country. And when we do travel outside of the country, popular destinations would be Canada, Mexico, and Western Europe. So coming to the UK. In the UK, people do travel to the States. Also, European travel is popular, but there are places that a lot of people have traveled here that I have never met anybody who had been there before in the US. Places like Thailand. It's really popular here to travel to Thailand. It's a beautiful country, really cheap, and if you take a survey of kind of your neighbors or your friends here in the UK, somebody is going to know somebody who's been to Thailand, who's gone to Thailand, or who has a trip planned. In the US, this is definitely not a destination
No.
that's really on our cultural radar in terms of, being able to take a poll and easily finding someone who has gone to Thailand. There are other countries like that. I think I've met more people in the UK who have gone on vacation or holiday to India than in the US, and just some other like Asian destinations as well. And again, this is down to differences in geography and how close or far things are, as well as just the fact that, again, a lot of Americans, if they're going to travel abroad, they're coming here to the UK or somewhere in Western Europe. Here in the UK, they're going elsewhere. So that was another difference I noticed in terms of being able to chat to people about their vacations and where they had been.
So that one right there, Thailand. So I know it's different, and I'm thinking that the cost would be expensive from the US to there, but from the UK to there, then I'm thinking I guess the tickets are way cheaper. But then when you think about it, the US is so huge, so people tend to vacation in the US itself. It's a lot of states, and some of the states are huge, and there's so much to see and do in other states. So I get that, and it's very expensive to travel outside of the US. It's expensive traveling inside of the US, so a lot of people tend to stick to the US. But traveling out, and like you said, a lot of people tend to want to visit the UK and Mexico. So yeah, I can see that one.
The topic of vacations, let's talk about travel insurance, because this is another difference. And a lot of people that I've talked to in the UK don't realize the lack of travel insurance knowledge or culture in the US. Not that travel insurance is like a culture, but as a culture, we don't really get travel insurance.
No.
A lot of people haven't even heard of travel insurance. I am pretty sure I had not heard of travel insurance before I moved to the UK. Here in the UK, and I think in a lot of Europe, it's like you go on a trip and you get yourself some travel insurance. It's just considered a standard part of going on vacation or going on holiday, as they say in the UK. That is definitely not a thing for Americans. And I was looking at some articles about this and some hypothesis about why this could be. Certain things of Americans are so optimistic, so we think that nothing is going to go wrong, even when we should
Oh,
plan for it. Things like, again, a lot of Americans are only taking trips domestically. So even though it does make sense, something could still go wrong from your trip to Texas to Montana. We don't really think of it in terms of a risk. Obviously, people do think of it more when they travel abroad. So in the UK and in Europe, when it is much more popular to leave your country, then that kind of comes into play more. And it's just something that in the States, people do get it. I'm not saying that it's not a thing. I'm just saying that it is definitely not as popular or considered a necessity in the way it is in the UK. The next difference,
that's an interesting one. It's my first time hearing about it. I've never heard about travel insurance before. So when she brought it up, I'm like, okay, where's she going with this? Is it the luggage she's talking about? I didn't realize it was the actual person getting an insurance, and it's just in case anything happens. Isn't that something? See, like I said, I've never heard of, and I know a lot of people have never heard about that. So I think it's a UK thing. But she's right. A lot of Americans, a lot of people are optimistic when they travel. They don't think anything gonna happen to them. So that one caught me off guard. That was a surprise.
has to do with banking, and I talked about banking in another video, but I want to talk about these card readers. So this is a device from Barclays, which is a personal card reader. So if I were to log into my Barclays account, which I actually don't have anymore, and this is an old one, but I think you can use them across banks anyway. But it basically can help you log into your account. A lot of accounts nowadays will require a multitude of options, but one of them will be you can log in by putting in some details and using your card in the card reader. You click identify, you press your PIN into this personal card reader. It says, yes, that's correct. And it gives you a code that you then put in your online account to let you in. We don't have these in the US. We obviously have card readers when it comes to stores having a card reader for someone to pay. But the
Yeah.
idea of having a personal card reader is 100% a difference between the countries. When I go to log into my US bank accounts, there is no card reader
No.
involved. It is not an option. It's not a thing that we are used to in the US. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk about driving.
I saw that. Guys, I'm laughing at myself. I thought it was a calculator. I thought she had a calculator in her hand. It's straight up. It looks just like a calculator. Because I'm like, we do have calculator. She's like, card reader. I'm like, that's a calculator. I've never heard anything like that before. That's definitely surprising. So you have a card reader, but the process that you have to go through, I'm like, hey, that's a lot. Here, you just type in your password, and you log right into your bank account. You just see it right there. So that's an interesting one. I will admit that. That's very interesting.
Driving on different sides of the road, which I'm not, but I am going to mention another difference between the UK and the US, which is the use of roundabouts. So in the US, I think we call them like traffic circles in some places, but basically instead of having traffic lights and four-way stops, here all of the junctions, or what we would call intersections in the US, are basically run by roundabouts. And that means that there is a pretty steady, constant flow of traffic. It's obviously not always going to be your turn, but if the traffic is clear, you go. As opposed to the US, where you can all be sitting at like 4 traffic lights and they're all red, and you're like, when am I going to get to go?
That's true.
That wouldn't happen here in the UK. And a lot of people do think roundabouts are a superior traffic solution. However, I feel like they only make sense in a country that understands what to do with them. There was a really small traffic circle or roundabout that I remember from growing up that was like outside of a Target near my house. And nobody had a single clue of what to do with it. People just drove straight over the middle, thinking that it was kind of just there for fun if you wanted to. So if roundabouts, and I do know that there are places in the US with roundabouts, but if they were to become more a part of a country's traffic patterns, we definitely have to do some education for the Americans because we are just not used to that kind of traffic system. I also feel like roundabouts really make sense in a country where you don't have a gridded system. The roads are just all over the place, weaving in and out. And so putting in a roundabout, I think, is probably a little bit easier than dealing with in the US, especially where I'm from, maybe not so much in the Northeast, but in a lot of places in the West and in the South, we have just straight gridded lines that intersect each other. And so we kind of think of the 4-way traffic light system making more sense. And the last difference.
So we do have roundabout here in Alaska. When I came here, I did not know I was so scared of using it. I didn't understand it. But now I love it. And I think it's way better, easier. You don't have to sit there and wait. Once it's free, you go. And you heal to whosoever is inside of the traffic circle. And when it's time for you to go, you go. And when it's clear, it's that simple. But I didn't realize it was that simple. And there was roundabout in Jamaica. And I did not have a clue how to use it. I didn't know where to turn off. I was as confused as they come. And now I'm the roundabout queen. I love it. I'm just pumped. Anytime I get to my roundabout, I'm pumped. So we have a few here in Alaska, and I really do enjoy going around them. Yeah, so I can see where she's going with how the roads are straight in most areas. They're not windy, and there's straight. And I can see why it would be a bit confusing to put roundabouts in those areas. But I think it works very well.
I have to talk about is the difference between American and British sensibilities about plants and garden center. So hear me out. So here in the UK, they have what they call garden centers. And this is basically a place that you can buy plants like garden decor or
Yeah.
gardening supplies, but also there tend to be other things sold there. So having a gardening center, they usually have like a cafe that serves lunch and snacks and tea. There can also be other things sold within the garden center that aren't even related, like clothes or something like that. And there is a cultural fascination with garden centers. When we were in lockdown, in the beginning of this whole situation, that was one of the things that were first to open before everything else. Obviously, people could only do stuff outside and they wanted to garden and stuff. But I just thought that was so funny. There is such a cultural love, especially in certain areas and among certain age groups, for garden centers. Now, when you compare that to the US, and the reason I bring this up as a difference is obviously you can buy plants in the US.
Yeah.
We would call it a nursery. And not for children, for plants. Here in the UK, nursery is for children. But we would call it a nursery. And that would be to go and buy plants. But that would pretty much be the only thing you do there. And it's more of a get in and get out situation. Obviously, you might explore, kind of walk around a little, but there's usually not going to be anything else to do. It's a place to buy plants. And there's no sort of cultural love for nurseries. They're just places to buy plants. We also have, home improvement stores. So our version would be like Lowe's or Home Depot, but they also have those in the UK. It's called like B&Q is an example of one. So that also isn't really comparable to a garden center, even though they might have a garden section. They're still not a place that you would go and you could actually meet somebody for coffee. Mostly kind of older people, though. No shade to you if you are a younger person who loves garden centers. It's just more of a cultural love and fascination here with garden centers that we don't have in the US. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video on these kind of smaller and nuanced differences between the UK and the US that you might not necessarily know on first glance. Again, leave your comments below on what you thought on other differences you've noticed, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.
So I will add that she is so right when it comes to nursery here. It's just plants. You just go, you get your flowers, you get whatever you're getting from the nursery. And when she said, no, nursery in the UK means where you put babies, not plants. I was like, okay. Here in the US, that's not the case. That's where you go to get your plants. It's garden centers. It's amazing how she explained garden centers there, that everything is there. You can have a cup of tea. You can see clothes. You can sit down and have food and dine and you still can look at the plants. But it's as straightforward as she said. When it comes to a nursery here, you go in, you look for what you're looking for, and it's strictly plants, nothing else. Plant, dirt, everything to do with gardening, and that's it. Nothing, they don't veer off to anything else. So that to me was surprising. So I'm surprised of the list that she has. I think only one didn't caught me off guard, but the rest, yeah, very interesting video. Always love her content as always. Don't forget to go over and show her some love. Like I said, the link will be in the description below. But before you do, hit the like on this one. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. You don't know? Come on in. Hit the join if you'd like to get more out of the channel and see what I have to offer and perks if you hit the join button. Also, there's a PO box in the description if you wish to send anything my way. The kids and I will truly appreciate it. It's your island girl. Be good, be kind, be safe. Okay, guys, love each other. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and what you think on this video. Did you notice these differences or are not? Love you guys, and I'll definitely catch you guys in another video.